This is a lecture from OpenTuition. To benefit from the lecture, you should download the free lecture notes from opentuition.com.
We're now going to begin the next few chapters by looking at the analysis of our financial statements. We need to be able to go through there before we get into the detail of each of the individual chapters. We need to first of all introduce the idea of what is happening within this analysis. It's important that you go through and understand what we're doing, because therefore you will then be able to apply that knowledge when it comes to the question that you're going to get within section C that requires you to analyse the position and or the performance of a particular entity. So what have we got? Well, it's effectively split out into two separate sections. You've got there the analytical review, and then that analytical review is then supported by the ratio analysis. The ratio analysis effectively is working out figures, numbers, ratios that link to different areas within the financial statements. Many of these you'll have seen already within your financial accounting paper. So we're going to look there at your profitability. So effectively looking at your performance ratios. So thinking about gross margins, operating margins, profit for the year margins, and looking at how well we have generated those profits per $1 worth of sale. We'll bring in other aspects as well, return on capital employed, asset turnover, again to give us more of an understanding as to the reasons why that business has performed better or worse within the year. We then move on to the statement of financial position, so your old balance sheet, and we begin to look there about your liquidity. Liquidity effectively is cash, and the reason why we want to ensure that we have cash is that so we can go through there and pay off the debt as they fall due. So we'll need to go through and look at the cash balance and look at its movement, which is what we'll see as the analytical review, but we can then support that idea of the movement with some form of ratio. So giving additional information to the user of the account. We'll also look at working capital. Working capital is an important component of generating cash within the business, isn't it? It's that working capital merry-go-round that we have, whereby we buy goods on credit. We then go through there and manufacture the inventory. We then go through there. Once the inventory has been manufactured, it is then sold to the customer on credit. And then we go through there and get the cash in from that customer, which is then used to go through there, isn't it? And pay off our suppliers. And then we can go through there and start all over again. So we need to go through there and look at how that working capital is managed and why effectively it may change in relation to the change in inventory, receivables and payables. We've got our solvency. So solvency is effectively looking at the long-term version of working capital and liquidity. Solvency is looking there at our ability to pay off our debt in the long term. So looking there at borrowings from banks, money that we have gone through there and taken from other investors, so some institutional investors, and comparing that to the equity balance that we have within our businesses. Okay, and then we need to look at your investor ratios. So starting to look at dividends, dividend yields, dividend cover, earnings and earnings per share. Okay, so some really useful information there to aid the investor understand how well this business has done from one year to the next. The analytical review, I suppose, is actually not more important, but the bit that people tend to neglect. We get so caught up within the ratios that we focus on just calculating the ratios without thinking too much about the explanation of the balance, its movement, or the ratio and its movement. Okay, so ideally, you just want to go through there and look at all the individual balances and explain their movement. Why has revenue gone up? Why has cash gone up? To keep it simple. We could then go through there and support that with some ratios. So the revenue increase could be tied into maybe an increase in gross margin. The cash increase can be then attributable to an improvement in your current assets, or maybe an improvement in the level of receivables. You've collected your cash in quicker. Okay. So that's something we really need to build upon. Focus more in terms of the explanation of the balance and the ratio, as opposed to just the calculation of the ratio itself. If you can do that, you'll do well in the exam questions. When we're making the comparison, you either compare this year to last year, which is what commonly appears in section C. But just be aware the examiner has other tricks up their sleeves that they can go through there and look at our company against another company and to see who has performed better or worse, or who has a better position. And you could also, as well, I suppose, compare it to budgets, forecasts, but keep it simple. Company to company or year on year. Okay, going back effectively to the comparability as one of your enhancing qualitative characteristics. When we're doing the analysis as well, we need to have a little bit of user focus. Most of the user focus is on the shareholders, but remember, going back to when we looked at the conceptual framework, we also need to look at your suppliers and your banks, and then on top of that, those providers of finance, you've got your competitors, the government, and your customers. Okay, they are other user groups that we can focus upon. But what particular focus do each of those users have? Because each of them will have different needs. Yes, the financial statements themselves will go through there and address all of the needs of the users by making the financial statements more useful. But what do those users need to take from the financial statements? Let's start talking about the shareholders. If you're a shareholder, you own a share within the business, what would your primary focus be upon? What would you want to find information about? Now, go back to the areas of ratio analysis we spoke about. Profitability, liquidity, working capital, solvency, investor ratios. Where would that main focus be for your shareholders? Yeah, your investors. But as an investor, what do you want to see? Okay, you want to see profits, don't you? You want to see lots of profits. You want to see dividends paid out of those profits. So looking at the return that you get. But from an investor perspective, we need to balance that up with risk, don't we? The higher the level of risk, the higher the level of return that you would require. The lower the level of risk, the lower the level of return that you would require. We have rational investors. A rational investor, if they're subject to more risk, would demand more return. So your focus would be on the investor ratios, maybe upon the performance of the business, to look at those profits and how that feeds into maybe earnings per share, and then maybe price earnings ratios. Okay. The suppliers, the banks, they want their money back, don't they? So they're looking there at liquidity in the short term as your suppliers, because they have 30, 60-day terms of payment. But the banks is over a much longer period of time, isn't it? So their focus will be on solvency. Competitors, what would your competitor be looking at? A little bit of a challenging one there, but your competitor wants to look at how well they're doing in comparison to yourself, don't they? So what are your level of sales? What are your level of profits? Profits compared to sales, we start to look at margins, don't we? So does company A have better margins than company B? If so, why? If not, why not? And what you can do as a competitor is you can then start to look at what other businesses are doing and hopefully improve your performance. Governments are looking there at your profits, because the more profits you make, the more tax that they're going to collect, and also job creation. The government will want to see that you're investing in your staff, that you're recruiting more staff, that you're investing in property, plant and equipment, because that's going to increase future profitability. And the more profits you make, the bigger you get, the more you will grow, and the more jobs that you will create as you expand. Okay, so the government have a vested interest in how the business performs, and how that then impacts job creation. Customers. So if you're a customer of a particular business, maybe it's a supermarket, maybe it's an airline company that you regularly go on holiday with, or a supermarket where you regularly shop. Now, are you interested within the numbers? Not so much. Now, there you want to focus on the service that's provided, the quality of the goods that are offered. Are the managers trying to do anything to improve the service or to improve the quality? In recent years, Ryanair, very profitable business, a low-cost airline within Europe, has been very profitable, but it suffered from a negative image. It would receive bad publicity, bad press for the way in which it dealt with its customers. It could do it because it was so big, it was so powerful, but what they've done now is they've really focused on the customers, improve the customer service, improve the quality of their offerings, and lo and behold, that's had a massive, significant impact on their overall performance. They perform much better than what they have done in previous years and are now beginning to distance themselves from their competition. Okay, so it's really important that you pick the user from the question, you know their focus, because then you can make some tailored, specific comments to that user group. We also need to go through there and consider the business or the industry, because depending upon how they operate will have a big impact on the ratios themselves. Manufacturing businesses, they're going to have gross profits, aren't they? Because they are going to manufacture the goods for resale. So we need to look at their cost of sales, their sales and their gross profit. Whereby a service business doesn't really have a cost of sales. Okay, it's going to be very small in comparison. So the comparisons of the profitabilities, if you're looking at different businesses across different industries, can be more of a challenge. Likewise, in terms of the manufacturing and service industries, manufacturing industries have huge amounts of tangible non-current assets, property, plant and equipment, because it uses it to manufacture the business or manufacture the goods for resale. It will have a head office. Yes, the service business will have a head office, but it doesn't have the plant and the machinery, does it? Because it's not producing anything. For a service business, their assets are in their staff, aren't they? And therefore, that's not recognised as an intangible on the face of the statement of financial position. So when you're looking there at some ratios, they will be distorted by the fact that your manufacturing business will have different ratios to those of the service industry because of the different sides of the balances. Okay. And then you've got your construction industry. Construction industries have been really impacted by the changes in IFRS 15 with regards to revenue recognition. So therefore we need to go through there, don't we, and think about how that's impacted the revenues and therefore how that impacts performance and then impacts margins. Okay. And then what we've got is your accounting policies. Different businesses have different accounting policies which can distort the comparison from one company to the other. So examples that you've got, revaluation versus your cost model. If you have the revaluation model, you're going to have a higher value of assets within your financial statements, within the statement of financial position. If you have a higher value of assets, you will then be charging more depreciation. So you'll have higher assets, higher depreciation, lower profitability. And the return that you're getting in those profits based upon the capital base that you're employing will look a lot lower than compared to under the cost model. Okay, so if you're comparing two businesses and one revalues, the other doesn't, there's issues that you need to consider. Inventory, FIFO versus average cost. Again, first in, first out, values your inventory on the most recent purchase price of the goods. So therefore, if the prices are increasing, you'll have a higher year-end inventory valuation under FIFO than what you will under your average cost. And again, that inventory appears on the statement of financial position in current assets, so it could impact your liquidity calculation with your quick ratio, and then that will also impact as well your cost of sales, closing inventory, and therefore your margins. Okay, so again, the comparability is difficult to achieve. Financial assets, or this business about fair value through profit or loss, fair value through other comprehensive income. You could have two different businesses with the same investments within the business, but because of their intention, one is at profit or loss, one is through other comprehensive income. Again, that will distort the performance of one entity to the other, purely because of their accounting policy with regards to the strategic intention of what they intend to do with that financial asset. Be careful as well for one-off non-recurring items because they can distort the overall picture. So if there are one-off non-recurring items, you need to remove them from the analysis. So examples that we've seen in the past are restructuring within the world of provisions. So a provision will be made in one accounting period but not the next. So that provision will need to be removed. So remove the liability, remove the expense, so you've got a like-for-like comparison. Impairment. The asset will be impaired this year, maybe they weren't in the previous year. If there is an impairment, it makes the results look worse than what they were expecting. But if you remove that impairment from the analysis, maybe the results are as good, if not better, than what was expected. The acquisition or disposal of a subsidiary. Okay. We haven't yet seen consolidation. We will do a little bit later, but you've seen consolidation in financial accounting. Now, if we acquire a subsidiary, we consolidate the results. That's the assets, the liabilities, the income, the expenditure. And all of a sudden, your performance year on year looks much better because you have this subsidiary that is contributing to your profits. If you dispose of the subsidiary, that subsidiary that was contributing to your profits is now no longer contributing to your profits. So let's make sure that we have a more detailed analysis of with or without that subsidiary being acquired or disposed of. Okay. And then the disposal of non-current assets. If that arises, you'll have a profit or loss on disposal. So we might need to remove that profit or loss to get a like-for-like comparison. Plus, there might also be some discontinued operations within there. From looking into the future, we might want to look at the continuing operations only. Okay. So there's quite a lot to go through and consider, but at least that goes through and gives you an idea of what we're looking to do. We're looking to perform an analytical review of the movement in the balances. We can support that with the ratio analysis, and then we need to think about factors that can impact the analysis, whether it's one-off non-recurring items, whether that is the accounting policies, or whether or not that is looking at businesses within different industries. What you will see is that this is initially quite difficult to do in terms of the actual explanation, but the more you practice the questions, you will see familiar themes, familiar movements, and therefore it becomes easier